He never wanted trouble. He just wanted to blend in. One more face in the crowded hallways of Lincoln Middle School. But in a town where people still whispered about who belongs, fitting in was never that simple. For months, 13-year-old Malik Turner stayed quiet, enduring the jokes, the stares, the accidents that weren't accidents at all. He thought keeping his head down would keep him safe. Until one day, they took it too far, and when the truth came out, the same halls that once ignored him would echo with his name, because this time, the boy they tried to break was the son of the new principal. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe so more stories like this reach people who need to hear them. The first day at a new school is never easy, but for Malik Turner, it felt like walking into enemy territory. Lincoln Middle was polished, strict, and proud of its reputation, a school that cared more about trophies than the kids who earned them. And now, standing at the front of the main hallway, was the new principal, Mr. Raymond Turner, Malik's father. To everyone else, he was Principal Turner, the man brought in to clean up the school's culture. To Malik, he was just Dad, the man who still worked late nights grading papers, who promised this new start would be better. But the moment Malik's last name appeared on the student roster, whispers started. Turner, like the principal. Bet he gets special treatment. Teacher's pet. He could feel eyes follow him through every hallway. Teachers smiled too wide. Students smirked too long. And one boy in particular, Ryan Hale, never missed a chance to remind Malik that he didn't belong. Ryan wasn't just another kid. He was the kind who ruled the cafeteria, whose dad donated to the school every year, whose grin could twist the truth into whatever he wanted it to be. By the end of Malik's first week, his desk had been covered in sticky notes. Nepo baby, principal's pet, go back where you came from. He tore them off, one by one, and threw them away without a word, because silence, he told himself, was easier. But silence has a way of feeding cruelty, and Malik was about to learn that sometimes when people can't touch your father's power, they come for you instead. Weeks passed, and Malik's smile grew thinner each day. He wasn't failing his classes, but he wasn't fitting in either. At lunch, he sat alone, earbuds in, pretending not to notice when kids laughed at him from across the room. To his teachers, he was polite and quiet. To the students, he was the principal's spy. The walls of Lincoln Middle were plastered with posters about kindness and respect. But in the hallways, kindness was currency, and Malik couldn't afford it. Ryan Hale made sure of that. It started small, tripping Malik when teachers weren't looking, whispering lies about him cheating on tests, mocking the way he talked. Malik ignored it all. His father had told him to be the bigger person, but every time he walked into that building, the air grew heavier. One morning, Malik opened his locker and found it filled with crumpled worksheets, each one scrawled with the same two words in black marker. Fake son. He stared for a long time, his hands trembling, before quietly closing the door. That afternoon, his father called him into the office. Everything okay, son? Principal Turner asked, sensing something wrong. Malik hesitated. He wanted to tell him, to say that every day felt like a test he was failing. But then he looked at his father, standing tall, wearing his crisp suit, trying to make a difference in a school that didn't want him there either. So he just nodded. Yeah, Dad, everything's fine. But everything wasn't fine. That weekend, a video began spreading around school. Malik sitting in class, eyes half closed, taken mid-blink. The caption read, "Principal's son sleeps while others work." Within hours, it had hundreds of shares. Even some teachers saw it. And when Ryan walked past Malik the next day, he smirked and said, "Guess Dad didn't teach you how to stay awake, huh?" Malik wanted to shout, to fight back. But instead, he lowered his eyes and said nothing, because he knew one wrong move, and it wouldn't just be him who paid the price. It would be his father's job, and that's when things got worse. Ryan's father, a powerful man on the school board, started showing up to meetings, questioning Principal Turner's leadership, hinting that discipline at home might be the reason the school was losing respect. The teachers grew colder, the students bolder. It was no longer just bullying, it was sabotage. By the time winter break rolled around, Malik had stopped talking in class altogether. He walked with his hood up, eyes down, counting the days until it would end. But it didn't end. Because one day, just after the break, something happened in the gym, something that would change everything. A stolen phone. a false accusation, and one boy caught in the middle of a lie too big to fight alone. It happened on a gray Thursday afternoon. The gym buzzed with noise as students tossed basketballs and waited for the bell. Malik stood by the bleachers, scrolling through his phone, when Ryan's voice cut through the echoing space. "Hey, Turner." "Nice phone. Bet your daddy bought that with school money." Malik didn't respond. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and turned away. Ryan smirked, and that's when his plan began. Minutes later, Ryan's friend accidentally knocked over a backpack. Ryan crouched, slipped Malik's phone out of his pocket while bumping past him, and slid his own phone into Malik's bag instead. The bell rang. Everyone filed out, but 10 minutes later, the gym teacher stormed into the hallway. "Whose phone is this?" he shouted, holding up Ryan's cracked device. "It's got messages. Someone posted locker combinations from the girls' team." "Who did this?" Ryan stepped forward. "Sir, I think it was Malik. He was near my bag." Malik froze. "What? No, that's not true." But the teacher's expression had already hardened. He called security. Soon, Malik sat in the principal's office across from his own father. And for the first time, his father didn't look at him like a son. He looked at him like a suspect. "Malik, please tell me you didn't do this." "I didn't, Dad! I swear!" But the evidence, the phone found in his bag, said otherwise. And Ryan's father, already in the office, demanded immediate action for violating student privacy. In that moment, Malik felt something inside him break. Not because of the accusation, but because his father, the man who taught him about truth and justice, stayed silent. By the end of the day, Malik was suspended. His father's reputation shredded. And Ryan? He walked out of that room with a satisfied smile, his lie safely protected by power. That night, Malik stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment, wondering how telling the truth could ever be enough. When the world had already decided he was guilty, Malik didn't go back to school the next day, or the next week. The halls that once echoed with laughter now whispered his name like a curse. Online posts called him the principal's hypocrite son. Parents whispered about discipline problems, and every door that could have defended him had stayed shut. Mr. Turner fought to clear his son's name, but the damage was done. The school board launched an ethics review, not on Ryan, but on him. They said he'd failed to maintain impartiality. The man who had come to fix the school was now being pushed out of it. At home, Malik barely spoke. He spent hours sitting by the window, watching buses pass, the same buses carrying kids who used to laugh at his expense. He kept thinking about the moment his father's eyes filled with doubt. That look hurt more than the suspension. One evening, Mr. Turner quietly entered Malik's room. "I'm sorry, son," he whispered. But Malik just shook his head. "You don't need to be sorry, Dad. They just needed someone to blame." Silence. The kind that fills every corner of a house when truth no longer matters. Weeks later, new evidence surfaced. A student came forward, a quiet kid from gym class, saying he saw Ryan slip the phone. But by then, it didn't matter. The rumor had already written its version of the truth. Mr. Turner resigned. Ryan's father stayed on the school board, and Malik transferred to another district, another town that didn't know his name. But some scars don't fade with distance, because the real injustice wasn't just what happened that day in the gym. It was how easily people believed a lie, how quickly a reputation could be destroyed by silence, privilege, and fear. Maybe that's what Malik's story reminds us of, that truth doesn't always shout loud enough to be heard, especially in a world that listens only to the powerful. And maybe, just maybe, the question we should be asking isn't who was guilty, but why no one ever stood up for the innocent. If you've experienced or witnessed injustice, share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so together we can spread the message further.